Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kastuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center, New York, Kastuba Das. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to Beautiful Tuesday. Before we get going, we just want to, as many people to hear this transformational message of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So please remember to subscribe, like, follow, and most of all, share with people that you love. How are you, Kastuba?
Good, Raghunath. Good to be here with you today. It's an honor to be here with you today, actually.
Oh, that's a nice way to put it. It's an honor. It's an honor to be hanging out with you every day.
That's what we do.
Yeah, we clicked into a service.
Clicking into a groove here, yeah.
You know, this is my theory. It doesn't come from anywhere, but I made it up, and tell me what you think about it.
All right.
In order to advance rapidly in Bhakti, you need a few things. One is,
I've heard you mention this before. Okay, let's see.
Yeah, it's a good one. You need to be settled in your ashram. Most people, we're going to get
explain
married.
what that means.
Okay, you need to get a partner. You need to have a partner. It's hard if you're single trying to figure out your life, unless you're a swami, which is very rare. But it's good to have a partner, even if that partner is not into what you're doing, but some reasonably supportive. It's good to have a partner because it settles your mind. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, everybody's like an option.
Otherwise, you're looking for a partner.
You're looking for a partner, and that's like your calling. Another one is you need a community with elders, or okay. like people you can turn to for questions. Mm-hmm. You can call it a guru. You can call it senior devotees or something. Someone you can turn to when we're at forks in the road.
All right.
Next one, you need to figure out what you're doing in your career, how you make money in this world. Mm-hmm. And the last one is, because I've seen people go through all these things. Okay, I got initiated, I got a guru, or I'm married, then I got second initiation, then I can pop out a kid, and then they start to then they realize the advancement's not happening enough, and then they start getting mental. I think, well, maybe I got the wrong guru. No, what you really need is to figure out what your contribution is. What is your contribution? And if you're new to this whole thing, what are you giving back in this world to make it feel like I am part of something bigger and I'm doing good in this world and I'm excited to wake up in the morning? These are things like if you already have these things in place, your bhakti can exponentially grow. And of course, there's all the rules we follow about, you don't make offenses, you don't criticize other devotees. That's a huge problem, I think. But if you get those in place, I think it's like a trampoline for your spiritual life. What do you think about that?
No, that makes a lot of sense. You need some stability. You need to have a mind that you got to be able to focus your mind and heart and absorb them in the practice. Mm-hmm. And if your life is unstable in some way, it's harder to do that. So if you get that stability, some decent guidance, that's all very helpful. And then you say contribution. you know, I don't think that needs to be necessarily. It could be even doing what you're doing now, but doing it with a different focus. You know, like a different understanding of how it ties in. You know, like even supporting one's family. That, you know, that can just be in one sense like a mundane kind of endeavor in life, or if you see that as part of your service to God, now you're doing it in a different state of consciousness, and that's part of your contribution. You know, just caring for one or two other people in the world, maybe, you know, or you know, it's not that everybody has to do something that's like, you know, makes them famous, or that's like huge, or you know,
not famous, but the idea of, and I agree with this about the family, and if you really turn it on, but I feel like they're by reaching out, extending your hand, spreading the word, so to speak. First of all, it engages your mind, and you feel like I am on a mission. You know, we're on a mission to give as much of this stuff out as possible before I die, because there's people that are struggling directionless. And the very basic foundation, simple stuff can save people's life. Okay. The simple stuff. Hey, you got to regulate your senses.
Well, no,
right?
I mean, I agree that if you try to share this with other people in a tasteful way, right? That
in a tasteful way. Thank you for clarifying that way.
That actually, it is dynamic, and it really begins to it can really ignite your practice.
And you get some special reciprocation from Krishna for giving it away. You know, for sure. It inspires you. I know when sometimes older devotees come with me on pilgrimage. I take a lot of new devotees, people who are new to Bhakti, people who've been around a while, but older devotees come and they get inspired by like, wow, so many people are getting excited. I think the podcast, before the podcast, me traveling and teaching yoga, before that being in the band, that kept me always enthusiastic in Bhakti, because you see new people romancing Krishna, and that's an exciting time of their life. And if you feel like you can contribute to that, it excites you in your spiritual life.
Romancing, you say?
Romancing Krishna. You like that phrase?
I'm not sure. I don't.
Come on.
No. I just don't know what it means. I'm not sure.
Romancing Krishna, falling in love with Krishna for the first time.
Okay,
do you remember those? In the material world, we all want some romance. There's Hollywoods all over that. But like in the spiritual world, that first time, like you meet some devotee and you realize, wow, I want what they have. And you go to a temple for the first time, and that scent of incense. I remember when you and I were young, there used to be we used to go to this little center on Greenwich Avenue in New York. And I tell you, I can remember it like it was yesterday. That scent of the incense,
Vrindavan flower,
right from the door, right from ringing you had to buzz yourself up. I remember that scent. I remember those impressions in my consciousness. That was romancing Krishna, and you're confused, and there's hope. There's hope for direction. There's clarity. It's such a good feeling.
Okay.
Good morning, everybody.
Yeah, I looked it up. Let's see, the verb for romance, to court, to woo. But I think maybe here, to engage in a love affair.
Yeah, it's a love affair. You know, I had this interesting thing with Jiva G this morning. She put it on the board right now. She said, not to be a Debbie Downer, but how many people stick around? How many people are willing to do the real work? That's a great point. And I came to the conclusion this morning in our conversation today that it can get a little like heartbreaking when you've like, sometimes you really extend and people really rely on you, and they reach out. You know this. They call you, or they text you, or they write you, or they come to see you, and they've been cultivating their bhakti, and all of a sudden they just disappear and they go away. And if you look at it like that, it can get really disheartening. But I look at it for me, it's like I extend for me. I want to extend this it's helping me. I'm a dented can. I'm broken. By reaching out and giving it to others, it's actually helping me. You know what I mean? Sure. Of course, don't be surprised who comes. Be surprised. be surprised. Don't be surprised who leaves. Be surprised who stays. Prabhupada would say, and that's and you know what? People sometimes have to leave due to their karma. They have to go away from a spiritual path, but it always stays within them somehow, and they always somehow can drag them back at the 11th hour. That's what we're about to get into in the next canto.
Okay.
This is good stuff. It's all tying together.
Excellent.
Oh,
Speaking of tying together, Mara seems to be knitting together.
what are you knitting, Mara? Knit us a message. Knit us what's happening. An announcement.
Okay,
Maybe we should
we've
just
got-
call this like "What's Happening with Mara," something like give it a little.
Oh, I like that. What's happening?
Now it's time for
One
"What's
of my
Happening
favorite
with Mara."
TV shows of all time.
What's happening?
Yeah.
Oh,
I had a
Mara,
dream.
you don't
I can't
know.
believe you said this. I had a dream of the Jeffersons yesterday. Is that
We're gonna-
crazy?
Yeah, let's not go into.
I'm
the
okay.
details.
That's all I'm saying. That was a
just leave it
full
right there. We're
card
good.
carrying squirrel. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Yeah.
Today
Okay.
we have Bhakti recovery group meetings. The men meet at noon and the women meet at 2 p.m. Eastern time.
Okay, that's what's happening.
Yeah.
All right, we got a nugget, Raghunath, today. We're going to start a new canto, and we're going to start with this nugget, which is going to tie right into it.
Alrighty.
I just realized your shirt is inside out, Raghunath. What's with that? What's going on?
Is it?
Yeah.
My shirt is Can't you tell me before the show?
I
This
didn't
is
realize it.
embarrassing.
I thought I saw it and I said, "Oh, Raghunath's got like a new shirt."
I
And
thought
then,
it is it.
but yeah, but then I
Oh!
noticed. Yeah. But then I noticed I could see through it. Like I could see it was a Wisdom of the Sages shirt, kind of like coming through.
I was like, man, where'd I get this shirt from? I was like, it's I was like, I didn't think I had them, just a plain blue t-shirt. I was like, all right, this might look good. So I looked in, it's a Wisdom of the Sages shirt.
All right, put yourself together right now. Let's get this nugget.
All right.
You ready?
Yes.
Who's this from?
This is from your friend and mine, Ben Dolnick.
That's right, Ben Dolnick.
Ben
Ben Dolnick is an American fiction writer and author of the novel Zoology, You Know Who You Are, and At the Bottom of Everything, a novel. But I think this quote is coming from an article that he wrote about apologies, about giving apologies. It was published in GQ. And it relates to atonement, which is going to be the subject that we get to right off the bat, because, we just heard about hell. Yesterday we were in hell together, Raghunath.
Yeah.
Right. And so like, how does one avoid, this is, kind of a major question in just religion, right? Like every religion has a concept of sin. And when you get to like our yoga world, of Bhakti, it has more to do with karma, but
Yeah.
in what sense, what pain am I destined to suffer because of my previous activities? I'm seeking, is there some way that I can atone for it becomes a religious question, right? So this is
Right.
about atonement.
You go to confessional. Did you ever receive confession in church?
Of course. How
You
could I
did?
have, how could I have been confirmed if I didn't confess, right?
Well, all right. Okay. And so sometimes they would say chant 4 Hail Marys and 10 Our Fathers or something like
Yes.
that. That was
Yeah,
a type of
you
atonement.
Yeah.
You atone for your lousy activities. Okay. So
this is
here's
about
what he
atonement.
says.
Yeah.
True atonement isn't the shaving of
No,
karmic,
periodic.
shaving of karmic stubble via confessional. It requires deep, truthful change. It means doing the hardest thing of all, not making the same stupid mistake again.
Okay.
Right? Atonement just doesn't mean we're just putting a plug in it. We actually have to change.
He mentioned in that article that he wrote that the word atonement, you're going to like, because you're a word nerd, Raghunath.
Yeah, tell me.
Think about it. Atonement.
Atonal.
He says the word atonement, a good try. It's maybe even close. The word atonement was originally pronounced at-one-ment.
Ooh.
At-one-ment. In Shakespeare's.
Foray got it. She put that on the board.
Oh, yeah. In Shakespeare's day, it entailed taking two feuding people and bringing them together at one-ment. And then Ben Dolnick went on to write that, like in today's day and age, atonement has a lot to do with being at one with yourself, in a sense that, like, I'm not divided internally. For instance, he was writing this in the context of apologies, that an apology is a type of atonement, and so he was saying one part of the apology is just the effect that it has on the person that you're apologizing to, that I've expressed to you my regret, my understanding of what I did that harmed you or offended you in some way. I apologize for that. I recognize what I did hurt you or was wrong, and so I apologize. But then he said the second, and then this is where he's speaking, okay, but then true atonement means you have to become one with yourself, because if you're just going to repeat the same kind of behavior, if you haven't really gotten to the root of it. And I think it's interesting how he says, he uses this analogy, shaving karmic stubble, right? Because when you shave, in one sense, okay, the hair's gone, but it's growing right back. Right. So it's not just like, okay, every now and then I give an apology.
You gotta go in there and remove those hair follicles.
Yeah. What do they call it when you?
They do that.
Is it electrolysis?
Electrolysis, maybe.
That when you
go in. You can also do that. You can take some of your beard hair and put it on your balding head.
Right. I also noticed that you've groomed yourself. You groomed your beard a bit here today, Raghunath.
Oh, thank you. We've got some very good beard
that.
guys watching on Zoom. I'm trying to live up to.
Okay, you did that thing where you shave it down a bit, and then you. I see what you're doing there. Okay. I see what you're doing. Take a note.
Yeah, fool you. I groomed myself. You know what I need? I need like hair follicles removed and placed where a Sika would be. I need to get a hair transplant just for a Sika, because my receding hairline is so receded down backwards. I can't have a Sika anymore. It's going to be too low. And there's an actual physiological reason why you have a Sika. It's got to be higher. It's got to be higher up on that marma point at the top of the skull.
So in any case, he's saying, that like true atonement, it means that you're going within and you're kind of rooting out. When we get into this discussion, it's going to say you got to root out the desire to behave that way again. That's part of the karma, is that it's going to be said that like activities that bring on bad karma, that bring on painful results, are due to ignorance. It's due to not understanding who we are. It's due to not understanding what this world is. We behave in ways that bring suffering. That's part of the karmic reaction. But then another part of the karmic reaction is you become inclined to behave that way again. You become inclined to repeat that behavior. And if you just shave off the karmic stubble, but you don't get to the very heart of the desire that's within you, that's due to certain ignorance, then you're going to behave that way again. It's going to come around again. You haven't really accomplished anything. So how to get to the root of it? That's going to be, last week we were talking about two models of success. Do you remember that, Raghunath? One is success means that I'm good at fulfilling my desires. And then the yogic model of success had to do with I modify my desires, because when I'm just trying to fulfill my desires, I'm a slave. I'm chasing the programming of my desires. The yogi's in control. I'm going to modify my desires. And then when I'm following my desires, I'm actually going down a path that I've carefully chosen that I want to go down. And so what Bhakti can do, and we're going to read about that now, that's going to become like a focus in the subject now, is it can modify your desires. It can get right to the root of the desires that you're unhappy with and just kind of burn them out. And you could say modify, replace them with desires that are going to have you moving in the direction that you want to go.
There is a huge, just like we were talking about the Catholic Church and doing the rosary, but there's a huge part of Vedic teachings is atonement.
Yeah.
Is doing certain rituals, certain pujas, certain yagyas, chanting certain mantras to make up for past ill behavior. And Bhakti, they say, burns the roots of these unmanifested karma like you are cooking seeds. Once you cook seeds, they can't grow anymore. So they say we all have some seeds within us of karma that's going to manifest, and it cooks them so they can't manifest any longer. It actually
Burns them out.
changes us and changes our connection with that aparabdha or unmanifest karma.
Yeah, or like you can say, like you can cut a weed, but if you don't pull it out at the root, it just grows right back. And so we may atone for past activity through some, and this is what you're referring to, right? Like say you go to the Vedic literature, a lot of it has to do with how to be happier in this world. And that you can, if you've done something wrong, it's going to prescribe ways to atone for it so that you don't get the bad reaction that you fear. But the point that's going to be made here is that, but if you don't get to the root of it, then you're just going to behave that way again, right? So Bob Dolnick here, right? He was saying true atonement isn't the periodic shaving of karmic stubble and it just grows back, right? Through a confession, or in the Vedic paradigm, it might have to do with some ritual that you perform that involves hymns and a certain demonstration, but he says it requires deep, truthful change. It means doing the hardest thing of all, not making the same stupid mistake again, right? We're prone to repeat this behavior if we don't get to the root of it. And so, let's discuss a little bit about what we're getting into here. We're moving into a new canto, Raghunath, right?
Yeah,
today,
exciting.
Sixth canto, and every canto there's 10 subject matters discussed in the Bhagavatam. And it's said that the subject matter discussed in the 6th canto, really there's just 2 stories in the 6th canto. It's the story of Ajamil, this person born in a noble family as a Brahmana, but he throws it all away, right? Starts behaving in some dirty, low-down ways.
Low down. I think some people are going to be able to relate to Ajamil.
Yeah.
You're on a good path, and all of a sudden the train gets derailed. If you've ever been derailed, this chapter's for you.
Okay, and so then he's about to have to pay the price, the karmic price for it in a very severe way, like we were just hearing about the hellish planets, and we hear what saves him from that. And then there's another story about Vritrasura, fascinating story, that's about a person that took birth again in the family of demons, but actually had this very deep devotion, and so the subject is called Poshanam for the 6th canto, which means like Krishna, how he protects the devotee, how Krishna takes special interest in the devotee, like beyond like karmic atonement and things like that. Like he gets really personally interested that if you just turn to him a little bit, he's really ready to do all that he can for you, to save you, to protect you, and so on. And Bhagavatam is always like kind of presenting truths through different kind of conflicts,
Sure.
We read a little bit in the last just a couple chapters ago, a conflict between Bali Maharaj and Indra, right? They were fighting over the universe, and then we saw that. Here's the thing, and here's what Bhagavatam's trying to do. This is really good. This has a lot to do with like the difference between religion and spirituality. Because like let's take atonement, right? Like that's again, using the term religious in like maybe the more modern parlance, is that the right word, right? The more modern way that people are using it now with like a negative connotation, right? That religion is more concerned with, let's say, salvation than it is with transformation, right? Salvation means, how can I atone for my sins so that I won't suffer? And whereas spirituality has to do with, how can I become a different person, right? Like, how can I transform? And so a lot of what's happening in the Bhagavatam, a theme, like in one sense, the most common theme that's being pushed is Vyasadeva is on a mission. He wrote all the Vedas, and there's just lots about like atonement, how to live happier in this world. That's religious, right? How to do the right rituals so that you can atone for your bad karma and live happier in this world. But he wants to say in Bhagavatam, hold it, slow down. You guys got all caught up. That was just meant to be a stepping stone in spiritual life. There's something far deeper, and that's divine love. And you need to transform yourself to be able to feel that, to be able to experience that is your nature underneath it all. And
It's
so
right out of the material world, right out of the three gunas, right out of rituals that are going to make you better, or counteracting malefic planets, right out of astrology. It's out of this world, and it's out of this body. Just like we were saying how it burns off this aparabdha karma, this unmanifest karma. It actually even burns off your parabdha, your manifest karma. We were having this conversation the other day, like, well, how can like pure bhakti get rid of your manifest karma? Like, suppose I cut off my hand. How is that supposed to get?
This goes right back.
Yeah, see, with bhakti, your hands grow back. No, the idea is that you are so understanding who you actually are.
Yeah.
The missing of a limb, even, you're just sort of like, it's okay. I'm not this anyway. I was thinking I'm this. So bhakti is so powerful, whether the karma is manifest or whether it's unmanifest, it takes you to a whole nother realm.
Yeah. Right. And so a lot of what the conflict going on here is in Bhagavatam has to do with the conflict between mixed devotional service and pure devotional service.
Sure.
Right? Like Indra, he becomes like the emblem of mixed devotional service. Like I respect Lord Vishnu. I honor him, I bow down to him, and I still like to enjoy the material world. There's nothing wrong with that, right? So my heart isn't completely given to him. My heart is kind of given to him, but my heart is still kind of going to the enjoyment of this world and the enjoyment of my false identity. I'm still hanging on to a little the I, me, mine kind of thing. Hey, this kingdom is mine, and I enjoy it, and I'm a devotee of Lord Vishnu, right? And Bhagavatam saying, okay, you know what? You study the Vedas, you got pious and this and that. You're no longer being grossly sinful, grossly harmful to others and cruel or anything like that. But there's something far deeper. And if you're not getting there, you're missing out. So we saw Bali was born in the demon family. Indra was like the religious follower of Lord Vishnu, but Bali had deeper devotion. We're going to see the same thing with Ritrasura coming up, that Indra's got an issue with him too. But we see actually Indra, in one sense he wins, but it's Ritrasura who truly wins because his devotion is so deep. And here in this story that we're about to read, we're going to start it today, we see a conflict between the Yamadutas, right? That there's a person that's dying. Between the Yamadutas and the Vishnu Dutas, there's a conflict. There's a person that's dying, and he's behaved in all kinds of cruel, irresponsible, neglectful ways that have harmed other people. And the messengers of Yama, the people that are meant to drag you down to the hellish planets, they show up ready to take him down, right? And then, but because he called out the name of Lord Vishnu, right? Narayana.
Spoiler alert, Kostuba's telling the whole story right now. Here we go.
That's no problem, because, and not the whole story, but because he called out this name Narayana, the Vishnu Dutas came. He called on Krishna's name. And so they show up, and then there's a discussion. There's a conflict between the Yamadutas who are like, we're religious people and we follow the Dharma, and this guy broke the Dharma and he has to pay the Dharmic price, and that's why we're here, and that's the rule, and that's God's way. And the Vishnu Duta is like, you don't understand what's beyond this cause and effect Dharmic laws. Devotion, pure devotional service, is something that nullifies that whole game. If we go back a chapter and a half, you see, because what's going to happen in this chapter, and spoiler alert, but just so as we read it, we're kind of getting it. What's going to happen is, having just heard about hell, Maharaj Parikshit's going to say to Sukadeva Goswami, how can we help people not go there? How can we help people not have to go through that?
Yeah.
And we're going to hear about pure devotional service. But if we go back, let's see if I can pull it up here. Yeah, okay, we got it. Do you remember like a chapter and a half ago, which was just like a few days ago? We read, we're reading about Sankarsana, right? This incarnation, this of Vishnu that's supporting the universe and all this, and or Shesha, right? Shesha, is it a snake? Is it a human? But he's a manifestation of Vishnu's potency, supporting the entire universe. And we read this verse. I'll read it to you right now. Even if one is distressed or degraded, any person who chants the holy name of the Lord, having heard it from a bona fide spiritual master, is immediately purified. Even if he chants the Lord's name jokingly or by chance, he and anyone who hears him are freed from all sins, all bad karma, right? Therefore, how can anyone seeking disentanglement from the material clutches avoid chanting the name of Lord Shesha? Of whom else should one take shelter? So we just heard that, right?
Right. And here we go, a whole chapter to endorse that.
Yeah. And one might ask, like, Maharaj Parikar, why are you even asking this question? I just told you a second ago that just the name of Krishna is powerful enough to destroy all one's bad karma. So the conflict is like, we have faith in mixed devotional service, and we don't have complete faith in pure devotional service. We may have like the conflict that's going on between the Yamadutas and the Vishnudutas, that one is like, hey, there's a certain dharmic price to be paid. The Yamadutas are like mixed devotion, but the Vishnudutas are pure devotion. And so the Vishnudutas can understand, they have no doubt just how powerful pure bhakti is, that it's a whole nother realm. And we may have this conflict with, just like the Yamadutas and the Vishnudutas are having this conflict of understanding between mixed and pure devotion. We may have that within ourselves, right? We may have some doubt within ourselves. If I chant this name, does it entirely wipe out all my bad karma? Will it grant me everything that my heart desires? Or do I still need something in the material world to feel fulfilled and satisfied? So this conflict will play out.
It's, truthfully, it's something that screws with my faith a little too, that like
Does
this, yeah. These lottery tickets you just find, which is yeah, I'm not staying at the Holiday Inn. I'm staying at the Ramada Inn. And because that's the name of a hotel in America. And because I chanted this name Rama, now all of a sudden I'm on a positive track. That seems unfair. It seems like you did nothing to get it. And now you won some lottery, basically. Someone gave you a lottery ticket and you won just because of that. And I guess, how I would answer to that would be, well, it's not like you're a pure devotee. You're still in the material world. You're still struggling with the things of this material world, but perhaps it's just a special mercy. I guess God is merciful, and therefore there are the sound vibrations that somehow get the train back on the track, even if that train takes lifetimes. And as you start to add more and more of those bhakti practices and changing the sound in your ears, you start to purify the consciousness. You don't find like chapters like this a little. I never tell this story because I think it's just too much to explain to people.
Well, but it's what it's illustrating. What it's illustrating is that it again, the point of this, it's a unique story, right? But Bhagavatam is highlighting it. Bhagavatam is cherry picking different stories, and it's not cherry picking stories that are necessarily typical, but it's cherry picking stories that are illustrating something that we need to understand, that we may have misunderstood before. And so what's being illustrated through this story is in the previous Vedic literature, Vyasadeva is saying, I've spoken a lot about karma, about how to try to live religiously in this world and enjoy this world. And I've spoken a lot about jnana, about how to renounce this world and try to find peace. But I'm telling you, there's something far beyond all of that. If you're a person that's like thinking that oh, just chanting this name one time, it doesn't really have power. You see, the way that the practice of bhakti works is that we're saying that the name of God is not different from God, and you have a chance to absorb yourself deeply in God just by chanting this name, but you have to deeply absorb yourself in it. So that means you got to start letting go of petty things, and you got to and bring your focus to this, get deeply absorbed in it. For me to go through the practice to achieve that, I'm going to have faith in that idea. I'm going to have strong faith in that idea. And so here Vyasadeva is saying, have faith in that idea. Let me tell you this story. If this story hopefully will convince you to have that kind of faith. Right. And so we hear about a Jamil who just kind of randomly chanted the name of Narayan, and it wiped out all of his bad karma. Have faith. You know, that's how I understand it. And it's also indicating something about, you know, I let me pull this up. I pulled something up for a nugget and I haven't used it yet, but
I'm impressed how you can pull things up so quickly.
Well, I keep them. This is from Thomas Paine, right?
You got a Thomas Paine
I wonder if
folder?
Brittany Paine, one of our daily swimmers, is related to Thomas
she's
Paine.
related to Thomas Paine.
So Thomas Paine was like for most Americans have heard of him and know of him. He was one of like the
he wrote Common Sense.
He wrote a book called Common Sense. Brilliant book, actually. These are the times that try men's lives, right? He was one of the founding fathers of the American Revolution. And so this is what he wrote. Simple but powerful. He says, belief in a cruel God makes a cruel man.
Wow. Right? That's a powerful statement, huh?
Yeah,
belief in a sweet God
makes a sweet man. Yeah, exactly. So I think a lot of what's being illustrated through the story too is it's a dynamic and powerful way of illustrating just how kind and merciful sweet baby Krishna is. That he's looking for any excuse. That this is the Poshanam. He wants to save you. You know, he wants you to reconnect, and he's looking for any little excuse that he can, you know, to be merciful. If you're willing to accept, he's willing to give. So why don't we dive in?
By the way, Karuna's mother, who lives in Lebanon, wrote on the board something interesting, right? This will hit you, Kostuva. I've kind of wondered that too. A common word here is haram.
Haram, yeah.
Right? The Lord, that's mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Haram. So I often wonder if people are making advancement. It says, Lord Chaitanya says it, right? Do you remember that quote about the word haram?
Yeah. When he was speaking to the, I
remember where it was up in the Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay.
All right. So let's get into this. Yeah. Text one.
So this is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6.
Mantras. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tatojayam. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki, by regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotees. All that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksurunadatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my teachers are opening my eyes with a torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet.
Yes. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 1, Text 1.
Maharaj Pariksit said, O my Lord, O Sukadeva Goswami, you have already described in the second canto the path of liberation, also known as Nivritti Marg.
Yeah.
Right? Marg means path. By following that path, one is certainly elevated gradually to the highest planetary system, Brahmaloka, from which one is promoted to the spiritual world along with Lord Brahma. Thus, one's repetition of birth and death in the material world ceases.
Okay, you've told me about giving up this world and ascending to higher realms.
Text 2. O great sage, Sukadeva Goswami, unless the living entity is freed from the infection of the material modes of nature, right? The gunas. They receive different types of bodies in which they enjoy or suffer, right?
Mhm.
According to your body, you're going to enjoy or suffer. And, and we mean the subtle body too, because some people are born into beautiful bodies, but they suffer tremendously, right? It's got really nothing to do with, it's got to do with
The mind as much as the body.
Yeah. And according to the body, he is understood to have various inclinations. By
One body
following
wants
these,
to do this, another type of body is looking for that.
by following these inclinations, he traverses the path called pravritti marg, by which one may be elevated to the heavenly planets, as you have already described in the 3rd canto.
So the nivritti path is let me let go of this world, and the pravritti path is let me enjoy this world in a pious way. You know.
Oh. You've also described at the end of the 5th canto the varieties of hellish life that result from impious activities. And you have described in the 4th canto the first Manvantar, which was presided over by Swayambhuva Manu, the son of Lord Brahma.
So he's got a little summary. You've told me about all these different things now.
A little recap.
A little recap.
My dear Lord, you have described the dynasties and the characteristics of King Priyavrata and King Uttanapad.
You're hearing all about that through the 5th canto, 4th canto.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead created this material world with various universes, planetary systems, planets, and stars, with varied lands, seas, oceans, mountains, rivers, gardens, and trees, all with different characteristics. These are divided among this planet Earth, the luminaries in the sky, and the lower planetary systems. You have very clearly described these planets and the living entities who live on them.
Yeah, so we just read the whole second half of the 5th canto.
Oh, greatly fortunate and opulent Sukadeva Goswami. Now, kindly tell me how human beings may be saved from having to enter hellish conditions in which they suffer terrible pain.
Okay. So yeah, here's Maharaj Parikshit, who's about to die by being bit by a flying snake bird, like any day now, right? It's coming his way.
It's coming.
That's the context, and he knows he's going to die, and he's decided, I'm just going to take these last 7 days and sit here with this great boy sage and hear from him. He could be thinking about his own, reactions that are coming at him, but he's actually thinking about others. When he heard about how painful hell could be, he just started thinking, oh, what about other people? Right? Good, pure heart.
My dear King, if before one's next death, whatever impious...
No, hold on. Yeah, okay, so let's be clear now. So he asked a question, right? How can people be saved from having to see the hellish planets? Now, Sukadeva Goswami replied. So now he's going to get his answer.
So here's the teenage sage. My dear King, if before one's next death, whatever impious acts one has performed in this life with his mind, their words, and their body, if they're not counteracted through proper atonement according to the description of the Manu Samhita and other Dharma Shastras, one will certainly enter hellish planets after death and undergo terrible sufferings, as I previously described. So the Manu Samhita, Dharma Shastras, they're ways
Talk a lot about this
books
stuff.
of atonement, yeah.
Religious books, very religious in that sense, right? Okay.
Therefore, before one's next death comes, as long as one's body is strong enough, one should quickly adopt the process of atonement according to Shastra. Otherwise, one's time will be lost, and the reactions of his sins will increase. As an expert physician diagnoses and treats a disease according to its gravity, one should undergo atonement according to the severity of one's sinful behavior or sins.
Okay. So now this is interesting. Maharaj Parikshit asked, how can people be saved from their bad karma and having to go to see these hellish planets? And so he's the disciple, and then the guru gives an answer. But you know what, Raghunath? This answer wasn't his real answer. This was a test. So he said, he responded very much like you would get in the 4 Vedas. hey, if you want to be free from your bad karma, you have to do the atonement. You have to do the right ritual. You have to do, and that'll save you from it. This is the method that, in a sense, what he's saying is shave the karmic stubble, right? But it's just going to grow right back. So Maharaj Pariksit, he passes the test. He's going to respond now to this and say, I think there's
hold a second. You told me. Now
Okay,
you're giving me this info. One may know, all right, so this is Maharaj Pariksit speaking. Well, one may know that sinful activity is injurious for him because he actually sees that a criminal is punished by the government and rebuked by people in general. And because he hears from the scriptures and learned scholars that one is thrown into hellish conditions in the next life for committing sinful acts. Nevertheless, in spite of such knowledge, one is forced to commit sins again and again, even after performing acts of atonement. Therefore, what is the value of such atonement?
Okay, so he's saying,
if the desire's still there, big deal. You're going to just go out and do it again.
It's like going back to the nugget. True atonement isn't giving apology is one thing, but if you're just going to do it again, if you haven't become at one with that apology, if you have within yourself, if you haven't let go of the desire to do it again, you haven't atoned in the deeper sense, right? Yeah. And so he's saying, people all the time, they'll do rituals to atone for their previous actions, but then they just perform the actions again. What kind of answer is this? There's got to be a better answer than the one that you just gave me.
Yeah.
He continues.
Sometimes one who is very alert so as to not commit sinful acts is victimized by sinful life again. I therefore consider this process of repeated sinning and atoning to be useless. This is the disciple speaking, by the way. Mm-hmm. It is like bathing of an elephant. For an elephant cleanses itself by taking a full bath, but then it throws dust all over its head and body as soon as it returns to land. That's what elephants do. They go in the water, mm-hmm. They're clean, and then what they do is they start to
very first thing they do,
throw sand on their body again.
I think it's to protect them from the sun or something like that, right?
I don't know what it is, but I love the fact that there's so many animal analogies from observing animals in nature. Yeah. Like most of us have never seen an elephant, and therefore we have no idea about this analogy, which is an elephant throws dust and sand on their bodies right after they bathe. But it's a perfect analogy for atonement.
Okay, so he's rejected it now. He's saying, you know what, the answer that you just gave me, come on, there's got to be something more than that, because people do the atonement, but then they just, it hasn't gotten to the root of the issue. The desire, it's like cutting the top of the weed off, but it's still growing and it's just going to manifest again. How's that going to really do people real good? And so Sukadeva Goswami, he's like, okay, very good. He didn't go for I threw out that answer, but he seems to be understanding deeper. Now he's going to throw jnana at him, like renounce the world and find peace. So the first answer was like, hey, atone for your sins. You'll lose your bad karma. You can enjoy this world. Now he's going to say, okay, analyze your inner desires and refrain from acting that way again due to that analysis. It's a jnanic approach.
The teacher's testing the student. Yeah. Sukadeva Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, answered, my dear king, since acts meant to neutralize impious actions are also fruitive, they will not release one from the tendency to act fruitively. Persons who are saying
you were right. You're right about
this. Good point.
Like
you got that. You got that.
Yeah.
Persons who subject themselves to the rules and regulations of atonement are not at all intelligent. Indeed, they are in the mode of darkness. Unless one is freed from the mode of ignorance, trying to counteract one action through another is useless, because this will not uproot one's desires. Ooh. Thus, even though one may superficially seem pious, they will undoubtedly be prone to act impiously. Therefore, real atonement is enlightenment in perfect knowledge, Vedanta, by which one understands the supreme absolute truth.
Okay, now even this, he's going to be referring to the next process that you find in the Vedic teachings, the broader Vedic teachings that you'll find, especially in the Upanishads, about like renunciation and analysis, right? This jnanic approach. And so this still won't be his answer, but Prabhupada writes this in the commentary. He says, the Guru, Sukadeva Goswami, has examined Pariksit Maharaj, and it appears that the king has passed one phase of the examination by rejecting the process of atonement, because it involves fruitive actions, right? I act and I get the result. I act, I get the result. Now Sukadeva Goswami is suggesting the platform of speculative knowledge, of jnana. progressing from karma kanda to jnana kanda. He is proposing prayashchittam vimashanam. Real atonement is full knowledge. Okay. Ultimately, the real atonement is going to be pure bhakti. It's not that I want the things of this world, or even I want to escape the sufferings of this world. You still haven't gotten to the deepest root.
Yeah,
But
we're just
now
cutting off from the surface.
Yeah. But so now he's presenting something. It's deeper. It's more. It's less superficial, but it's still not the full thing. Text 12.
My dear king, if a person eats the pure, uncontaminated food prescribed by a physician,
If a diseased person.
if a diseased person eats the pure, uncontaminated food prescribed by a physician, he is gradually cured, and the infection of disease can no longer touch him. Similarly, if one follows the regulative principles of knowledge, he gradually progresses towards liberation from material contamination. Text 13 and
Continue,
14. What time
Yeah.
is it? It's 6:58.
Yeah, let's read this and maybe one more after this.
To concentrate the mind, one must observe a life of celibacy.
Oh, this
and
is
not-
actually such a famous verse. We should probably come. You remember this one from the brahmachari days, Raghunath? Tapasa brahmacharyena samena cha damena cha tyagyena satya sauchabhyam yamena niyamena va.
All right, let's start off tomorrow with this.
We'll start with this tomorrow. Okay.
All right, Miss Mara. What have you been knitting back there? You knit some nuggets, knit some takeaways for us?
Yes.
Knitting
We all
nuggets.
need stability, guidance.
Hold up, this could be what do we call the beginning one? What's happened with Mara, and then this one is called Knitting Nuggets with Mara.
Knitted nuggets.
We all need stability, guidance, and a contribution for growth in our spiritual life.
A little formula from Raghunath there.
All right. All right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna work that into a
A little
pamphlet or something.
Okay, yeah.
Romancing Krishna renews our enthusiasm.
Romance.
Yeah. Let Krishna be your lover.
True atonement is uprooting our tamasic desires within.
Yep.
Mhm.
Reaching out to others helps us.
Yes. Yes. Reaching out to others helps us. I like that a lot.
Reaching out.
Bhakti can uproot and burn our bad karma.
Yep.
Okay.
What are you scrolling
I would-
back on the message board?
Well, I want to
To the
see.
beginning.
I want to see if there's interesting things that I should know before the show ends.
Transform yourself to experience otherworldly divine love.
Okay.
Bring me a higher love. Oh.
You gotta get out of here. I gotta do this. Oops. There's special mercy in God's name.
Very special.
Very special. And what is mercy? It's you're getting something you don't deserve. Ramada Inn.
Also, have faith in the potency of the holy name.
Have faith.
Have faith. Have faith.
And our atonement shouldn't be like an elephant's bath.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. That wasn't such a and, but it was good. It's true. You do what you can do. You do what you can do, Mara.
That's
And you've
it.
done good. Done
You've
good.
done well, Mara.
You've done well today, Mara. Thank
Perhaps
you.
tomorrow you will do better. We shall see.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us. I got some new faces here. Naveen Radhadasi, welcome to the show. Who else joined us? If you join the show, I say good morning to everybody. Oh, Babananda wrote on the board. Give up bad karma, drive a Dodge Ram. Right? It says Dodge Ram. You
Ram.
get credit for that as well.
Ram is in my name, Raghunath. My last name, right?
Even Ramella, you know what I mean? His last name is Ramella. Then you meet some Hare Krishna dude on the street selling you a Bhagavad Gita. You're like, for some reason, this resonates with me. I've been chanting Ram's name my entire life.
Well, the rest of my family hasn't caught up yet, though.
Well, it's lifetimes of stuff. They're all on a track.
Okay.
You don't even know, Mr. B. You don't know how evolved they are. They could appear steeped in Maya, appear that way. And
Yeah.
then something could happen, something could shift, and they could be like flying way over our heads.
Mm.
That's the interesting thing about Bhakti. We have no clue where people are at. Isn't that interesting to think like that?
No clue at all? How
We
are we
have
going
no
to find
clue.
good Sangha
We have
then?
no clue. Want to debate me on this one as our show closes?
Well, I'm going to say, how are we going to find good Sangha if we have absolutely no clue?
Well, we have no clue where people are at in their karmic growth.
Okay.
If like the people who are in Maya, because or apparently in Maya, because they could just be going through some thin veil of Maya and waiting to, and they have to have some maybe loss in their life, some heartbreak, some betrayal, some loss of money, some sometimes something appearing tragic, and then it can launch them at a certain point. But they might need that in the same way. A flowering tree, like there's a male and female tree. They need each other to give fruit. Ah, you like that? A little botany analogy? Part-time botany? Part-time botanist, part-time mason.
By the way, people are asking, Talia is asking, where's Mike?
Where's Maris? You're asking that.
I've been asking too. So we're going to try to get that together for tomorrow.
Like that's what's on the Zoomers' minds. Where's Maris, Mike? That's sweet. Thanks everybody for joining us. You know what I'm really loving? Loving the stone wall. I go to it every day and look at it. I touch it. It's like a giant grounding Rubik's Cube. Trying to figure out what stone goes where. I can see me getting lost in this thing.
Okay.
When you come, I'm going to introduce you to all my new friends, these stones.
All right.
Yeah. And you're going to see the magic.